I'm taking the opportunity to record this video while I'm experiencing some anxiety because I need to practice what I preach here. And I give instructions or suggestions on how to let go and get into your state of flow. And I'm not always able to do that myself. I'm human and I want to show you all that as well. And there's a couple things going on right now. It's not even that serious in the grand scheme of things, but there's leaf blowers outside that are making a lot of noise. I don't feel they're particularly useful. I think the landscapers here are just using them to basically blow debris on our cars and maybe have something to do because they need to get paid, I guess. But anyway, now they've stopped, so that's a good thing. And I'm also experiencing some creativity block. And I think I know where that comes from. In general, most of the time when we experience a block in creativity or a block in our flow, I believe it comes from viewing something that is important as scarce rather than abundant. And you have the choice of how you want to view whatever it is that's important to you, that you're viewing as scarce rather than abundant. And it can be some, I think you can always or almost always trace it to something when you're feeling anxiety. What is it I'm viewing as scarce rather than abundant? And in this simple case, right now, this kind of came along unexpectedly when I was ready to record. The leaf blowers started again. And what am I viewing as scarce? My time to record. Okay, I'm always going to have time to record. Well, not always, but what's the worst that could happen if I don't? There's going to be some time in the future where I do have time to record. And that time that I have to record is abundant. It's not scarce. So when I'm viewing that as scarce, then I'm getting this anxiety. Like I can't record when I want to. I'm not going to be able to. Okay, so I have to rearrange my day a little bit if worse comes to worse, if I have to. Or just even when I hear those, I get anxiety when I hear those leaf blowers because I know my car is going to be filthy. What am I viewing as scarce? Having a clean car. Okay, I can easily remedy that situation in the future. I don't always have to have a clean car. There's something scarce. There's something I'm viewing as scarce that is really abundant. And how important is the car? My opportunity to feel like I have order in my environment should not only come from having a clean car. There's abundant opportunities to feel order in our environment. For instance, making music, I can put order in these sounds and put order in my environment. You can probably still hear some anxiety in my voice even. And that's something we have to keep in mind too, is that even after we've calmed down, sometimes the physical symptoms remain, even after we've convinced ourselves logically that whatever we viewed as scarce is really abundant. It takes a while to calm our bodies, to calm our emotions as well. And that's what I'm doing here. Some people might like to meditate. Personally, it's better for me to just play the guitar. It might be there for you, it might be something else. It might be a different hobby, it might be meditation. I have trouble with meditation, and that's maybe something I could work on because I start to think about all the things that I need to do in the material world, and I get even less focused on the spiritual world and letting whatever spirit is you feel, whether that's God or some other kind of spirit or some other kind of higher power or just something within yourself to express itself or for you to express yourself. When that is being blocked, then that's where the anxiety is coming from. And that anxiety is coming from, the reason that's being blocked is because we're viewing something, as I said, as scarce rather than abundant. And also, I'm starting to view money as scarce a little more. I'm realizing on the subconscious level, even though I know it's abundant. If you live in this country, which I may have some viewers from other countries as well, so I can't really speak to your situation, but I can speak to my personal situation, I know living in this country, if I don't have a mental illness, which I don't, if I don't have a drug addiction, which I don't, then nothing extremely bad is going to happen to me. And I'm going to figure it out. I always have for the last 48 years. Well, I mean, I guess the first 17 years, I had a lot of help, and maybe even beyond that, uh, from parents and relatives and such. But for all of my adult life, I've been able to figure it out, and I always will. And it's not like I'm hurting. I'm still doing okay, but I'm starting to have to pay more attention to the market and kind of rearrange my finances because of the macroeconomic situation right now. And I realize that's causing me to slip back into viewing money as scarce. And it shouldn't, but it's me just getting into my old habits, basically. And it helps for me to remind myself that money is abundant, that worst possible case, well, I guess the worst case scenario is you could die, but then you wouldn't feel anything after that anyway. But next to dying, what's the worst case scenario when it comes to money? If I lose all my money and I'm homeless, well, at least I don't have a drug addiction. So I'm going to be better off than probably at least 80% of the homeless people. If I say I don't have a drug addiction or a mental illness, I'm probably going to be better off than 80 or 90%, maybe more. I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion or you have statistics to back up your opinion that's different than mine. But I believe that I'm going to be better off than the vast majority of people who are homeless, even. And I'm going to figure it out. And it's not going to come to that. But just to remind myself of the worst possible case scenario, I'm still going to be okay. I'm still going to figure it out. I have too much pride, I think, to actually go and rely on a friend or family member if I got into a bad financial situation. I don't know though. Maybe I would. But in either case, I will figure it out. And that's not even something I have to entertain because I'm so far away from that. So why am I viewing money as scarce? Well, I do need to continue to watch the market, I believe, to know what's going on. And once I get a better grip on things, I can back off again. But I'm in a good situation. And I don't want to go into a lot of details because I'm not like a financial advisor and I don't want to give somebody the wrong advice about that. But I'm just coming from the perspective of I can feel myself viewing resources as scarce. And right now, I'm not viewing love as scarce. I view that as abundant, but maybe I'm starting to slip into viewing money as scarce, which I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of sweet spot balance there because if you view money as completely abundant, then I think we tend to get lazy and we tend to not. Well, I can only speak for myself. If I had all the money that I needed to survive, I don't know that I would be motivated to do some of the things that I do when it comes down to it. Even though not everything I do is purely, or I would say the majority of things that I do are not purely extrinsically motivated by money, I still might find myself in that trap of getting on the hedonic treadmill and saying, well, what do I have to worry about today? Do I really need to even get up, get out of bed? Can I just sit here and passively scroll the internet or passively take in some kind of pleasure? And as I've said in previous videos, we all know that's not good. It's basically we're overflowing our dopamine receptors to the point where we have a miserable life and we're chasing pleasure and we're getting these little short bursts of pleasure. We build up a tolerance just like we do to any other kind of drug. It happens with any kind of dopamine hit. And I think really viewing money as totally abundant may sway some of us in that wrong direction a little bit. I'm not completely sure about that. I have to think about that more. This is just me thinking and articulating. But Also, I would rather view money as totally abundant than totally scarce if I had to pick one end of the scale, but I think there's a sweet spot somewhere in there. And as usual, I'm starting to kind of draw blank. I'm going to play a couple bars here and just know that I do, as I leave the speaking portion of this video, I feel like there's more to say. However, I'm going to leave it there at this time and just leave you with some music. And how can I segue into this? So I feel a creative block, but I'm going to play anyway. As I'm playing, I'm going to think in my mind about how abundant things are, especially playing guitar, because that's something I've done all my life. So I get plenty of opportunities to do that. And that's one of my favorite things to do. So if I can view that as abundant, and that's reinforced by the fact that I've been able to do it my whole life, then I can view this thing that's important to me as abundant, and I can extrapolate that into other things in my life that are important to me that are also abundant. So here we go. I'm going to turn this on, turn this on. Bear with me, apologies. Turn this one off. the great things about the blues is when you mess up, you can make it look like you did that on purpose. As long as you resolve on that root note, in this case, the beautiful D minor pentatonic. Whatever tension there is in the plot of my playing, as long as I resolve on that root note, everything will be okay. Just like in all aspects of life, you always get a chance to resolve on that root note. You always get a chance to resolve your tension. There are abundant opportunities to relax, to resolve your tension, to make things right. And it may not be in the way you expect. Maybe you messed up a relationship with somebody and you feel like that's not repairable. Well, take what you learned from that relationship and use it in the next one, because you're going to have another opportunity, whether it's with that person or with a new person or whatever. And I'm veering off into another subject here. And the whole time, I always seem to forget to do that. So forgive me. I think you could probably still hear me. It's just that I had the mic that's attached to my pants here that was actually for the speakers while I'm playing. I like to use this one when I'm speaking and this one when I'm playing. Anyway, I'm running out of articulation here, so I'm going to wrap up the video. But as I was saying, just in closing, realize that whatever is important to you is abundant. And maybe leave a comment and let me know what it is that you're viewing as scarce, that you could be viewing as abundant, and what it is that's causing you anxiety maybe, or maybe you have a different opinion about what's causing you anxiety other than what I've said. And that's okay too. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll keep going. See you next time. Thanks for listening.